What's up, everybody? I'm Davos from Most Valuable Podcast, bringing you the comment section continued from the Fast Break podcast this past week. We talked about the CP3 to the Spurs being a possibility. We did the NBA Finals preview, and most talked about topic of the week was Brandon Ingram being the cornerstone for the Lakers. First up, we have Molly Samamba. Why do you keep defending Aldridge? He has disappeared for the past 2 years. We keep defending Aldridge because, honestly, he's a great two for the Spurs. He's not going to be the number one guy. He's not taking over every game night after night, but what he is doing is giving you consistent points and boards, and there is definitely value there for that. They don't game plan around him being successful on offense, which I think is kind of where a lot of people just look at the stat sheet and be like, oh, look, he's not as successful. But at the end of the day, what he gives them is definitely super valuable. So I don't think that he's ever going to be a number one in the NBA again, but I do think as a two, he definitely garners enough attention and enough value that he's still one of the best players in the league. And from last week's comment video, we have Jason Camacho, who left us, Boston has chickened out trades for years, and they won't start now. You shouldn't even entertain their trade comments. I completely am entertained by your comment. I honestly love it because we kid around a lot about Boston and trades and, Danny Ainge being the smartest guy in the room at all times. I think it's just a matter of, when do they really want to pull the trigger, and they haven't had that sweet spot yet. I think eventually we are going to see them turn some of these assets into actual players on the court that will help them win more games. In the long run, compete for a championship. I just feel like a lot of it has been a lot of talk, and it gets a little out of control out there on Twitter. So, maybe they get a bad rap for it, but I can't blame them because they haven't made a bad move yet. And from our Brandon Ingram video, we have Ben. Of course, Ben always repping the WPN. I just want to shout out and say thank you for doing that. We appreciate your WPNs on every single video we post. And then we had Adrian Buck. He's talking about the super teams and, when's the right window to go for it for this Lakers team. He starts off with the super teams won't last that long. Cavs are already old. Golden State. Clay's reduced to a primary defensive player. KD won't be there forever. And Curry had injuries in the past. This is all true, but at the same time, you got to think that these windows they're so fleeting. The Cavs, you can't say that they're already old because LeBron will continue to reload every single year. If he doesn't feel like he's got enough, he's going to reload. He is the lead. He is the GM. He is a player. He is the coach. He does everything for them. So to say they're old and wipe them out for future contention, I think is wrong. I think that he's going to do whatever it takes, and they're going to make moves in free agency, maybe bring Team Banana Boat back together. It's kind of a whatever it takes for LeBron. As far as Golden State goes, you make a good point about Clay being a defensive player. I think I don't know if that's really a mark against them because what he does for them defensively is, it's next to only Draymond Green levels of defense on their team. So super valuable still, and he can get hot when he needs to. Curry injuries in the past. Yeah, that is the one thing that no matter what I say, injuries will happen. But it's just, I feel like the combo of KD, Curry, Draymond, and Steph is just so unselfish that they're going to continue to play together, take cuts whenever they need to ensure that they keep winning games, keep having fun. I think that the NBA has changed so much that the value or the priorities for players have changed along with it. And I feel like trying to say that their window is already closing is probably not going to be right. I can see them going for another 3-4 years, without a problem. They're going to keep, making smaller moves around them. We've seen them turn over their bench, but look, I wouldn't write off either one of these teams just yet. And next up, Lakers Nation 24 said, why would we trade D'Lo? He's more of a scorer anyway. Lonzo, D'Lo, Ingram, Randall, and Zubac can be something special in the future. It's not fair to say D'Lo and Randall won't be anything special when they've only played 2 years in the NBA. Fair point. I actually do like the future of the Lakers. I'm a little bit of a fan there. Honestly, for me, it comes down to who do I have more faith in going forward, whether it is D'Lo or Randall, and that's the only reason why I usually bring up Randall because the ball seems to kind of stick with him. He's not a great facilitator out of the low post, and he doesn't always look around for better options. He kind of tunnel visions down on the net sometimes. But no, I absolutely think that you let this young team go, and I would love to see that rotation go out there and what they could do because, like you said, D'Lo is a great scorer. Lonzo helps pass the ball, facilitate around. And the development of Ingram along with Randall and Zubac, they legit have one of the most exciting young starting fives if they end up with Lonzo in this draft. Next up, we have Boogeyman 3, who said, think of the Thunder. All I'm saying, their players were just under 26 when they went to the finals. Anything's possible. Just keep the young boys. No Paul George. Just let the young boys get whooped, so eventually they will give their beatings, you know? So I think like what he was going for is spot on. Like, we watched that Thunder team go from 3 young, really young players and a couple role players to a team that pushed all the way for a championship because they stuck together, because the management made the right moves around them, and it wasn't instant success for them. They earned it, they went through, and they learned how to win games throughout, you know, the couple of years there. So with this Lakers team, I could definitely see them going down a similar path. The finals, I don't know if that lines up for them the way they had the window for the Thunder, but regardless, I do have faith in, like, let them run, let them play their game. They're probably going to be a mediocre to bad team next year again, but we should start to see, you know, the end of the curve. You know, we'll start to see a little bit of light out there with the progress from D'Lo, the progress from Ingram, whoever they take this year. I really do think that, you know, we're starting to see the end of the tanking for this Lakers team. Next up, we have Gregory Castillo. He says, I think an important piece, most likely a 4 in this NBA, but he can play the 3. He won't be a huge liability on D in case of switches with smaller guards because of his agility and length. I think you want him playing like a Harrison Barnes kind of role, hitting open 3s. I don't see the vision or passing ability of superior point forwards. I would like to see his second season and watch his development. He's, of course, talked about Brandon Ingram here. Honestly, I don't know if the Harrison Barnes role is quite right for Brandon Ingram. I feel like he has more potential than Harrison Barnes does. Harrison Barnes, was a good spot-up shooter. We've seen him kind of flourish in Dallas where he has the ball in his hands a bit more. And he's not quite a full point forward, but he's definitely more comfortable ball in hands versus the spot-up shooter we saw him over in Golden State. For Brandon Ingram, I could easily see what you're talking about with the lack of vision, passing ability. But again, this was a bad team with an offense that really wasn't suited for all of their talents yet. So I think that you're right. We have to wait and see his second season because as they continue to get more pieces, we're going to see more of the system that was correctly built out. I'm not saying I completely trust in Luke Walton on this one, but he's a smart guy, and I think he's definitely setting Brandon Ingram up for a successful future. I think he's going to be more of probably you're right, he's a 3-4, and it's really going to be matchups don't matter because of his amazing length and his quickness out there. So really for him, it's just that shot isn't quite right yet, and that's why I disagree with the Harrison Barnes spot-up 3 guy because he's not quite there yet. He might get there, but I'm hoping that he's more ball in hand and we see a lot of growth out of him in this next year. And the final comment is from Matt241. He says, oddly, Ingram is the one who goes to make room for Paul George, Jason Dieng, or Mozgov because Russell and Ball will be amazing together and Randall is going to beast out. I'd love to believe you, but I just think the value is not there if you have to get rid of Ingram to make room for Paul George. Like, I don't know if you're going to love that deal because, yeah, you're going to have to re-sign George to a long-term deal. And I do think that the combo of Ball and Lonzo will be really, or Lonzo and Ball, D'Lo and Ball will be really good together. I think they pair up pretty well based off of their deficiencies and what they give to each other. The big question to me is Randall beasting out because it's something I haven't seen. I haven't seen him go for half a year even at a level where I believe that he can be like a legit stud at power forward for me. I think Paul George, one way or the other, is going to find his way to this Lakers team. It's going to be awesome for them, but I just don't know if I'd pull the trigger on letting Ingram go for that kind of a deal. And that'll wrap it up for this week's comments section continued from the Fast Break podcast. We really appreciate everything you guys leave for us down below. We love getting involved in this discussion with you. Be sure to be on the lookout this week for the Warriors sweep conversation, the one and done rule possibly being completely killed off, and the Sixers draft pick. What should they do with it? I know you guys always have great ideas for the draft, so I'm looking forward to that one. Thanks for everything. We'll see you next week.